Well, g'day, Max there again. Welcome back to the shop. So today's mission, or this video's mission, we're going to build a tooling rack so I can hold all of the 40 and 50 taper tooling and the long horizontal arbors for our big milling machine, Olga. So I want to build it totally out of just stuff I have lying around. So some of you will know I've got short arms and deep pockets. I don't like spending money when I don't have to. I'm sure most of us are like that. So I'm building it out of offcuts. I've got these long RHS 150 by 50. I've got a few of these kicking around. Now these are offcuts from when I built the workshop. So these are going to be our main uprights. I'll swing in a bit closer and we'll just gloss over my plan of attack. So these are the offcuts from when I made these rafters. These have been hot dip galvanized. So these are 150 by 50 by 4mm wall thickness. So that's, yeah, the leftovers from that. And they're no good for keeping for bench legs or anything like that, because I've got a fair bit of this 90 by 4mm wall thickness tubing. These are leftovers from the veranda poles for the workshop. So looking at a piece of wall space I've got behind the milling machine, I've got this unused space here, which is too skinny for a bench. I still need to be able to walk behind the machine, and so those uprights will span between this centre girt and the lower girt, and I'll just set them in slightly, and there'll be 4 uprights. 2 of the uprights will hold the shelving for the tooling, and the other one down the end there be another set, and that'll hold all the horizontal arbors. And that should free up all this crap that builds up on my workshop countertop, and get all these arbors off the floor here as well. So basically I'm just going to notch a corner out of each end. That will allow it to sit into the wall. I've got some 50 by 6 flat bar. We'll run across for mounting brackets. We'll cap, I don't know if I'll cap the top or not. Definitely we'll cap the bottom to keep the red backs from moving in. And then as far as the shelf or the shelving setup, what I sort of planned to do was cut some slots in this at an angle, but not all the way through. So for shelving, I've got some of this aluminium box section, 100 by 50. Looks like about a 3mm wall thickness. So what I intend to do is use these and set them in at an angle. So when this is up against the wall, it's easy to get the tooling in and out. You know, it's sort of sat at you at a slight angle. So as far as attaching the aluminium to the steel, that's what these slots are going to cut. So if I cut like a 4mm slot and then notch out some of this so it has a tab sticking out, these will then slip up into the slot. Now I'll drill and tap here, and I'll just put a plate, a retainer, and that stops them falling out. That way at any time I can pull these out, these can stay on the wall, and because how do you ever know what space you're going to need for what tooling, so I can just drill them, get them all drilled for the tooling that I have, and when I get future tooling, it's just undo 2 bolts, I can slip the whole shelf out, put it in the drill, make my new holes. This piece here, for example, will get cut in half. So my shelving width will be 590 millimeters long. Why 590? Because I've got a couple of these, I've got about 3 of them, and it just divides up into an equal length. It's just what I have, so that's why the length or the width is what the width is. So I'll start off by getting the corners notched out in these first, and then we'll tackle the flat bar adornments for mounting. Oh, and the very top of it will be appropriately bracketed to accept a timber shelf so we can accumulate our crap on there, and it will be out of the way. So a simple bit of marking out. Angle iron gauge, near enough. Okay, so I flip it over, do the same, and the same on the other end. Then we can just saw down to our scribe line. It will overcut past the scribe line at the rear, but that doesn't matter. We can just chop off the excess with a grinder and a cut-off disc. Too easy. Okay, with our ends all notched out and I've just cleaned them up a bit with a flat disc on the grinder. I've just marked off 300mm centres on 3 shelves, 12 inches, and I've scribed a line in at 15 degrees, hoping that that will work out. So what we're going to do, we'll head over to the Bridgeport and we'll cut a slot in on this 15-degree line. Now that's where the tab of our shelf will slide in, and of course then we'll have a retainer on the front so the shelves are removable. So let's head to the Bridgeport. And the all important thing to remember with the marking out there are lefts and rights. So we have our shelf upright, angled, and I've got a hard stop here and one opposite down here. So that sets our angle. So when we do our slot, we can just slacken the clamps off and slide our piece along to the next position. And I've just centered the cutter by eye over our angled scribe line, which is close enough. Okay, that's the first one done. So I'll mow through and do the remaining 5 off camera. So that's all of our 6 slots done. I have changed the design a little bit as I'm going, so I'm making these 3 shelves a bit longer because I don't need the material now for the other side where the horizontal arbors will go. I'm doing that a slightly different way. So I've just marked out some scribe lines on the end here, and what we'll do is we'll go over to the Bridgeport and we'll mill a big chunk of the end of this away, and we'll just be left with a tab sticking out that will go into our slot. They'll have plenty of clearance, so it's yeah, there's nothing too high end in the way of tolerances on this thing. It's only a shelf. So we'll head over back to the Bridgeport and get these knocked out. Yeah, one of these I'm going to cut, which will be this one here. There'll be a horizontal slot at the top, and there'll be another piece of this the same that sort of slots in, I think, along the same lines of what we're doing here. And that way, like this piece that we're going to use for the horizontals has got enough width to support the arbors. So let's head back to the Bridgeport and we'll deal with these aluminium pieces. So when we mill our tabs on the end here, because we have to rotate the part around 3 positions on every end, so that's, yeah, several times over the amount of 3 shelves, I've just created an end stop and 2 back stops. So when our part goes in, it's all fully repeatable. And also I've put springs under the clamps. So when we do this end, it just saves me having to dick around with the clamps. All I've got to do is put our part in, nip it down. So when we go to do the other side, just release the clamps, put back in, and we're in location. Okay, so we just repeat that on all of the sides and all of the other ends, and then we'll finish up by taking the cut through here. Okay, that's all of our cuts done down here, and I've gone past to allow it to butt up squarely to the other mating part. So we'll just set up now and we'll do a cut straight across, then that'll leave us our tab on the end. So our setup's the same. We've still got 2 hard stops and a couple of clamps with springs to hold them up. Just push in, and because we're clamping on box section, I'm just supporting it with a couple of other strap clamps underneath our other strap clamps, and just have to nip down onto these. So having that there gives it a lot better support than, because it's only thin. So, okay, we can just mill across here now, and that will create our tab. So our shelves will just sit into there. So if these are mounted up on the wall, they just slip in from the front like that. And there's enough thickness in this material so I can just drill and tap a 6mm thread in here, and a bolt and a washer screwed directly in here, and the washer will secure the shelf in place. So I need to now work on the other end. So I need to look at cutting some 50x6 strapping to go across here, and work out the mounting for the timber top, and also the opposite end, this bottom I want to cap it off as well. Just keep the red backs out. And lucky last. Okay, little bit of overhang, but we used our shop-made spider with a bush in it. It's not that much overhang. And our Coventry die head hammered these rods out, no problem. I did have to make this adapter to suit this die head to the JFMT lathe. We'll have a look at it when I pull it out. And our completed stack of 16mm threads. This job would have been a perfect job for my little capstan lathe with the Coventry die head in it. But, yeah, the old little Herbert, she's still waiting in the queue. Last 2 Fridays in a row I've had to pull the chip pans out of the JFMT and empty them out. The rear one's not too bad, but it's always the front one. Good thing they're on wheels and just pull out together. So these die heads, this is actually supposed to be clamped in a contraption like this. This is off my capstan lathe, and they have this clamping arrangement very similar to a lot of lathe tailstock quills. And of course, yeah, the die head goes in there. But when I use them in the normal lathe, well, that's the one that I knocked up. Just a simple socket with a Morse taper and a tang on it. yeah, I didn't have time to film it, but I do have to make one for the smaller one, as this one's a little bit too big. So yeah. Oh, and of course 2 dog point screws go into 12mm ones to hold the die head. And what I did on the shank of the die head is I machined 2 flats in the appropriate locations for them to grip on, just so it wouldn't, I mean, these are hard anyway. I had to use a carbide end mill to do those, just so I wouldn't get any funkiness going on. So a great time saver these things are. You can't beat them. So I've cut and drilled a pile of the mounting tabs. So we'll end up with the mounting tab across the bottom and our 2 blanking pieces. And this will stop those bastard redbacks from moving up and living right on the edge of them. All right, I'll get these all tacked into position. Okay, that's all our end plates just tacked in. They only need to be just tacked in just to keep the redbacks out. And yeah, we're over in Olga as we had to mill in this slot here for the horizontal arbor shelf, which we'll make out of same size material. We'll cut a tab on the end so they'll slot in the same as these ones, our tooling shelves. So all I need to do now is drill and tap, probably down here, might be 6mm or something like that, put a screw in with a washer, and that will retain the shelves. So at any point we need to remove the shelves, take that screw out, and we can, the shelves will just slide out for further drilling to accommodate the tooling. So yeah, I'll get these tapped, and I'll sort out the length to cut the horizontal arbor tooling to, and I'm just going to notch the tabs in with the grinder as it's steel. I did the other ones, the aluminium ones, I did in the milling machine because that's the easiest way for me to cut the aluminium. So I'll get this other one done, and we'll see you shortly. I've just drilled all of the holes for our retainers, so I'll tap those 6mm. We'll have a washer and a screw goes in, and that'll stop the shelves being able to slide out. Here we go again. I actually don't mind the anchor for something like this, you know. Bit of hand tapping. It's fine. And don't even need to reapply it for the next hole. How good's that? Yeah, everything has its uses where they work best. So what the plan is, yeah, so our shelf will slip in, and hopefully our screw will screw in. stop the shelf slipping out. So I'll go through and tap all of these, and then we'll come up to the next stage. Yeah, I'm not even going to go there. Trouble we have in Australia here is it's so damn hot. This is a really old bottle of Anchor Lube, and I've had this all of 5 years, and that's when I realised you can't have it with the lid off. It just sets rock solid. I mean, this is really old. She's quite manky in there, and this is one I've thinned down with water a couple of times, but it's so damn hot over here. I mean, our workshop, you know, temperatures are normally around 35 degrees C, and it can hit 40 degrees C in summer. And the water-based product, it just seems to evaporate really quick. Whoops, and that, so oh well, we'll continue on. But yeah, for hand tapping like this, if you don't mind the occasional spurt, this stuff works fine. Okay, that's all of the shelf retainers done. So I can actually get these two mounted up on the wall. Now we know the spacing for the shelf. Once these two are mounted, then we can determine the length of the shelf that we're going to put in for the horizontal arbors. So I'll head over to the wall and I'll show you when it's bolted up. Well, they all fit in there rather well. So it's just a matter now drilling through, and what I'm thinking of doing, because I want to put a timber top across that will sit on this girt, it's still got to attach to these, so I might just weld a couple of tabs on here. I can get a retaining screw in and that'll hold the timber top in place. But before I do that, I'll get all our holes drilled and get the other brackets mounted up. So yeah, I got this nice clear space of wall that's doing nothing, so it might as well serve a useful purpose. Okay, well, so far so good. What we've got so far has worked. However, I just need to do a slight modification down on this one. So where I've got this tab sticking through, I'm actually going to cut that off flush, top and bottom, and that will eliminate this gap we have here, because the spiders will love that. So yeah, a single tab top and bottom will be enough to hold it, and of course that's the slot for our horizontal shelf, which will span through to there. So that'll come through here, and it will have the appropriate cutouts in to store the long horizontal arbors. So I'll get these cut out and this other shelf in. Yeah, summertime here, they all drop like flies. All except for the daddy longlegs and redbacks. There's a baby daddy longlegs just there. Yeah, the daddy longlegs and redbacks seem to survive the heat, but your other ones, yeah, like that, and those big black ugly things, yeah, they frizzle up. Okay, well, this will form the top shelf of the rack for the horizontal arbors, so it's just a matter of marking out where I want to cut the slots. We're just over at the Bridgeport, just drilling the first series of holes in the 40 taper tooling shelf. So I'm just using a hole saw to put these holes through. So I was just doing a 2-inch hole in the top and a 1 3/4 inch, I think it is, down the bottom. Plenty of clearance, you don't want them tight. Well, I don't want them tight anyway. So, and the last one for the top shelf. We put the 1.5 inch one in, making sure to get the slug out from the previous one. When was the last time you seen me use a hole saw? I don't think I've ever used one on camera before. I've had the set for all of 30 years and very rarely use it. Well, this is the first use for our new set true tailstock chuck. I'm just doing steady rest bands at the moment. I've got 3 of these pins to do, and then yeah, we've got to turn the whole OD of them down to size. when I was turning that just then, I was getting a bit of chatter right down this end. So you would have seen me duck off to the steady rest. And all I did was put very light pressure on this roller here. Like it's only just barely touching. And that sorted it out. So, carry on turning. Alright, that's this one done. This is the 110 diameter. So the next two, there's a 100 diameter, then a 90 diameter. All of them just a fraction shorter than each other. So this one's 770 millimeters, 110 diameter. Remember when we did the test cuts on this machine, we had a similar piece in, and we were getting a 3.5 thou increase in diameter on the center, and we're getting the same on either end. So that's why I've turned this bar slightly different. If the lathe was perfect, I could have gripped that in the chuck and just turned the whole lot in one go. So, but what I have to do here is I turn half, flip the bar around, turn the other half. And that way I can get this to within its tolerance of plus or minus half a thou or 0.02 millimeters without polishing. The only polishing was just a very light run over with a bit of 180 just to settle down the tool marks and give it a bit of a shine. It was virtually nothing. So blend lines come out spot on. Nothing to feel. So yeah, 2 to go. So I'll keep on trucking. I'm hoping that once we grind the inner way, because that's where all of the wear is, we'll be able to do this sort of thing in one pass and keep within tolerance and not have to use other options that we have up our sleeve. And number 2 done. Come out well. Spot on size. Right, we're starting to make some progress now. So first 2 shelves are drilled for 40 taper, bottom's drilled for 50 taper, and the rack. So that's actually come out better than what I expected. So I've got spots left because I want to make up some 50 taper adapters for some boring bars. And there's Olga's horizontal arbors. So yeah, worked out great, just cutting some slots. I didn't film it because it's just drilling and grinding, cutting out slots, but I did put these buttons in. I just made a heap of little turn bushes and held them in place with some 6mm screws, and it's just a safety thing more than anything, just in case, you know, something got bumped and stops the arbors, stops it all, stops them falling off the shelf. Lost me words there for a tick. Okay, so we're missing 2 things. So yeah, first item missing is our wooden shelf for the top, which so I can store angle plates and whatnot on, other crap. And last item missing, can anyone guess what it is? Well, the Swan Valley green is what was missing. And then the shelf. So at least now we can get some of our tooling put away so it's easy to access and I can see what I've got. The horizontal arbor shelf come out really good. And yeah, like I mentioned earlier, it's got the little buttons so the tooling can't fall off, and spare spots because we're going to make some boring bar holders. And yeah, the shelf, 2-inch thick West Australian jarrah with a beveled edge. Found a piece of timber in my stash, and yeah, perfect for this application. So all in all, yes, it was a very time-consuming exercise, but at least I can remove any of these shelves at any time and replace or modify them to suit my needs. And yeah, the nice jarrah shelf on the top, nice and solid, so it can take a lot of weight. Some of these angle plates and the dividing head tail stock, there's a fair bit of weight on them, so all come out really well. And of course you can't have machine shop pea green unless you mix several different colours together out of all your old tins of paint. And we've gained some floor space where all those arbors were stored before. Yeah, so we'll have to, yeah, it's all tooling for the boring mill. I need to get all that out of the way. Well, that's another one of those little shop jobs taken care of, and there's like hundreds of them to do when you're sort of organising a shop. So, yeah, a little bit of turning work thrown into the mix, and a lot of it I did off camera with the shelf because it's just yeah, a lot of drilling, grinding and things like that. I did use orange oil on the timber. That's my go-to product for wood. I'm not really a woodworker, but I can manage simple things like that. So anyway, cheers, thanks for watching, and see you in the next video where I need to get back onto dicking around with our, well, got the Dean Smith and Grace and the Casto. Then they're both important, so we'll see how we go. Anyway, cheers, thanks for watching, and yeah, see you next time, or you'll see me.